Good morning. Hopefully you can see and hear a version of me at least. If you're watching live, please do say hello so I know everything's working okay. Um, I say a version of me because I'm a little bit bunged up, so I'm going to apologise in advance for any sniffling or coughing or just generally being a little bit irritating today. My voice is still with me. I can't guarantee how long that will be the case for. So if it's at all gets irritating in the session, I am so sorry. Yeah, I was coughing all through the night again. You can always mute me and just just follow along with what we're doing. It's just myself on my own today. Michael's indoors, um, looking after his brother or entertaining his brother at the minute. And yeah, so we are finishing our tour of Australia for the first term back of the academic year by drawing this crazy creature, the stonefish. So we're going to be talking a little bit about him. I'm going to share some facts about what they are and how strange and wonderful they are as well. Hi Susie, hi Jill, Emily and Freya. Thank you. At least I know that everything is working fine. Cool, cool. So yes, as I said, we are ending looking at fish. So I said before that I wanted to incorporate more different varieties of animals. So we're not just looking at mammals. So we are starting to include fish and birds and reptiles, etc. So we are ending on the stonefish, which is a really peculiar fish. They're not the most attractive fish. If you see other images of these, I would definitely recommend you look, if you haven't looked at the stonefish before, after this drawing, wacky to look at as well. Susie, this is going to be so hard. It is. It's going to be another challenge for us, but then we love that, don't we? Because it keeps us on our toes and helps us to become better artists. I can see that my internet is glitching a bit today, so I hope that you can bear with me and it settles soon enough as well. So, the stonefish. I'm going to start with the facts first of all before we started. So, what if you were to Google what's the most venomous fish in the ocean, the answer would be this guy, stonefish. He is the most venomous known fish, and it is the reef stonefish. He has a remarkable ability to camouflage itself amongst the rocks. It's an ambush predator that sits on the bottom waiting for prey to approach. So yeah, very venomous, deadly to us as well, and I'll explain how and why they might use their venom. Um, and very unusual looking, very otherworldly, aren't they? But you can see this camouflage, the effect of camouflage is going to be what creates the challenge for us today. So actually trying to get this texture and these colours, this lumpy bumpiness, which actually makes him look. That's what helps him to camouflage himself, which is a great self-defense technique. But it's also a way of being able to hunt effectively as well, because other fish can't um, hear them or hear them, see them. I just read a comment that said it's very quiet today, hard to hear. Is that the same for everyone? Sorry guys, it might be that I'm talking quieter because my throat's been hurting a little bit, so I apologise if that is me. Shall we get started then with the drawings? We're going to start with drawing out the outline. Hi from Oscar and Pi. Susie said it's laggy at the moment. Yeah, it's not looking great today, is it? Everything's on the blink, it seems. So I'm just setting up my tablet so I can stand it up. I'm working on my page landscape. I'm just going to wait again because I think the screen's freezing. I'm going to wait for it to catch up with me. Apologies. It's quiet for everyone, is it? Let me just check the mic. So sorry. It's always, why does this always happen when you're not feeling at your best as it is anyway? Quieter than normal. Okay. I can't even find the mic button now. Sorry, guys. I will try to talk louder for as long as I can. Michael isn't joining us today. He's entertaining his little brother in the living room at the minute, but he'll be back again next term when we move to Europe to study some new animals. So I'm just going to get started with drawing out the outline of this fish, and I don't even know where to start with this. So there's a lot going on, isn't there? It basically looks like a big face on fins. So I'm going to try to depict that a little bit. So I'm starting with what I perceive to be the mouth. So, and I know this because I've looked at other reference pictures for these creatures, that they've got big sort of frowny looking mouths. So that's what I've drawn at the front there. There's something that looks like the eye there. And again, I've had to look at other reference pictures to see the eye because it just doesn't, it's not clear. And that's just because that's not the quality of the photo. It's because of the design of the fish. It's been designed so you can't pick out features for him because that's what makes it such good camouflage. If you could clearly see, if you was a little fish swimming along and you could see a big black beady eye staring out at you, then you might think that could be a predator that wants to eat me. So he's been designed through nature purposefully so that you can't easily identify his features, and he looks like a little bit of reef, coral reef or rocky. So I'm just sketching out the main lines that I can see. So I can see these little fins. I'm so sorry, I'm going to be coughing all the way through. I did just take some cough medicine in the hope that it would calm it down a bit. But I didn't want to cancel last minute because I know how disappointing it is when you're all set up ready for a session and it doesn't run. So that's my very rough outline of a stonefish. How are we getting on with ours so far? So I'm going to put in some more details now. I'm actually quite pleased with that as a starting point. I'm going to put some more details in, like the lines on the fins, and then we've got to look at how we're going to create this texture, which I think is going to be the trickiest part of today's session. Luckily, there isn't much in the way of symmetry or anything with the texture. It's all seemingly quite random, so it'll be quite forgiving of our interpretation, I think. We can do it basically any way we want to. He's got some spiky bits here. I'm going to do what I think is the eye. It's like on like a little alien eye sticking out there. And then I can see some details of the fin here that I'm going to get in. So once again, I'm sketching really lightly. I'm holding the pencil near the other end so that I'm more loose and relaxed. If I was to hold the pencil down here, I've got more control of it. So that's going to make me give more definitive lines. I want it to be sketchy, so that's why I'm holding the pencil slightly differently today. Just thought I'd give it a go as a technique. Jill said this is worse than the octopus. I don't know. That the octopus nearly broke me. At the moment, I'm not there with that. That could change, I suppose, when it comes to texturing. But at the moment, I'm feeling all right about this. Lumpy, bumpy, bumpy. Yeah, we definitely don't need to be worried about being too neat with this because he just doesn't look neat. And I noticed when I pulled out the colours from my pencil tin, and I have a big range of colours I can pick from. But actually, I could only see a couple of colours, so I've only got a small handful this week. I'll show you what I've got. Of course, as always, I've got black. I've got green, because I know it's a lot of green on him. I've got grey, like a bluey grey, and then orangey browns. So that's all I'm going to be using, I think, with colour-wise, when it comes to adding the colour and getting the tone in as well. I'm just going to add in a few more of the details that I can see before I rub out some of my more confusing lines. And I can, like I say, I can add in more detail and more texture with the colour as I go along. See, mine's too big. Well, if you're cropping a little bit out and you don't want to start again, that's okay. Maybe you just haven't got the whole fish. I mean, we don't always, when we're drawing, we don't always have the whole of the animal on the page. So if you'd rather not start again, it's not going to be wrong, is it? It's just your interpretation. Right. He's a funny looking creature as a line drawing, isn't he? Look at that. You wouldn't look at that and go, oh, I know what that is. Hopefully by the end of the session, we'll all know exactly what a stonefish is and some of the things they get up to. So, I said it's the most venomous fish in the ocean. It actually has 13 spikes along its back. Now, you can't see it on this fish because he's not made them stand up. So when they are threatened, they will erect these spines, 13 spines all along his back, and that's where the venom is. And those spines are really, really sharp. So they'll go through a flip-flop, for example, and they'll inject venom into the foot of a person, or it could be a predator. And they can be fatal. They're very, very venomous. So they don't actually use these spikes. In that, I said obviously they hunt. They hunt other little fish. They don't use their spikes to hunt. That is a self-defense mechanism. They hunt by chasing their prey, and they're very, very quick. So I say chase because of their camouflage. They tend to stay on the seabed undetected by other fish, and they've got these big wide mouths. And when they see a fish come along, they literally as very, very quickly they will capture the fish. So I actually did get the speed. They can attack their prey in as little as 0.015 seconds. So really, really quick. Which, when you look at them, they look a bit frumpy and bulky. You wouldn't expect them to move that quick, but maybe it's such a quick movement and a small movement because they wait for the fish to be right on top of them that they're able to capture them very quickly like that. So, what colour shall I start with? I think what I'm going to do is put the green down first because I can see it along the top of his head and on the rims of his fins, and then I'll probably put the bluey grey down, which is like the main bulk of it, and then I'll go back over with orange inflections as well. Excuse me. Does it sound any better for people, or is it still too quiet? I'm talking as loud as I can. We all struggle through, wouldn't we? So now I'm going to really sort of almost roughly apply the colour. So I'm going to be quite strong and bold with my application because I want the texture to look rocky. So I don't want it to look soft. I don't want it to look like fur. I want it to be like we see here, a very rocky, rough looking texture. And I think I can get that better by being a little bit more rough in my application with the colour. So I'm pressing quite hard with a pencil and putting several layers over. And then I'm going to get a much more bright looking colour as well. So the colour I've got isn't quite the same as the image, but it's just the one I was drawn to, and I felt like went better with the other colours I've picked out. So again, this is my interpretation of this image. So when you look up images of stonefish, there are different variations of colours. Some look brighter than others. Some have got more orange on than others, for example. So again, because it's your artwork, you can't be wrong. However you want to do it is correct. I'm going to try and keep it to the factually correct colours, so I know that it has orange and green within it. But actually, if you wanted to use completely different colours, no one can tell you not to, because it's your artwork. I'm going to bring in a slightly different green as well, so like a more algae coloured green to work in top of that and add a bit more variation as well. I've caught a stonefish when I was fishing. Where? Where did you catch that? Exactly the same as with when I was drawing. I'm holding the pencil further up so that I can get a more sketchy effect. And don't forget, because I'm using watercolour pencils, I can add the water on afterwards to blend them as well. Now, I think I'm going to bring some grey brown into this fin, so I'm going to sort of finish working on this part of the fish before moving on to another part. And again, I'm being very rough and ready, raggedy with my shading to try and give the illusion of that rough bumpy texture to his skin. In Whitby, are they definitely stonefish? Because I thought these were just native to Australia. That's terrifying. If they are in the UK, I thought all the dangerous things were far away from us. So I'm working some black into now the shadowy parts, and this will add a little depth and allow me to make the image look more 3D and more realistic rather than a flat image. Adding shadows, and again it's building up the texture as well. Don't forget to keep looking back at your reference picture. That'll give you some help when you're navigating the terrain of his skin. Right, what other facts have I got for you? So how big do they get? They get about 30 centimetres, so that's probably just about the size of this page. So fairly big fish really. They can live out of the water for many hours. So almost a bit like a fish with a superpower, really, isn't it? I'll try and put this eye in as best I can. You can't see much detail on it at all. It's got a lot of shadow cast around it, but I think again it's largely because of the camouflage, the really, really effective camouflage that it's got. How are we getting on? We're not letting it beat us, are we? I'm struggling a lot. I'm only on the base still. Yeah, part of me thought this would be quite simple and straightforward, but actually there's an awful lot of detail going on here. So you're not alone. My hand is aching already from the amount of shading we're doing. How are Emily and Freya getting on? And Jill, to be fair, I know Jill always joins in. I know I said I was shading rough and ready, but this is a whole other level of rough and ready. I don't know if it. I'll put it down to this cold. So this is a completely different way of working for me, but it might work. It might be highly effective. We'll see. Don't know unless we try, do we? The girls say good, Jill says bad. My hand's really aching. I know I have a bit of hyperflexibility. Hyperflexibility, is that word? You know what I mean. But it's really flaring up today. I think this is the most shading I've done, the most aggressively anyway. My hand is struggling. Get the base colour down and then I can work in some detail, maybe not hurt my hand so much. I need to work some dark tones into the sort of rear dorsal fin and the tail. It's definitely more in the shadows, so going over that in the black as well. Around 1 million eggs are fertilised. What, from one fish? I did not have that as a fact. Well done. Thank you for sharing that. If anyone else has got some facts, do feel free. I have got some more next to me, but I'm very aware that I need to get this shading done as well. It's handy when Michael reads out the facts. Oh my goodness, I'm almost out of breath. Stonefish are the most venomous fish in the world. Yep, that was one fact I definitely had. The most venomous fish in the world. I wonder how they compare to the most venomous animal in the world. If anyone can look that up, if you're free, that would be awesome. What's the most venomous animal, and how does that compare to the stonefish? Oh my goodness. So 1 million eggs from one fish. That's an awful lot of fish. I'm hoping they. This sounds awful. I hope they don't all survive because I'd never go to sea again. So they live for about 5 to 10 years each. They can weigh around 2 kilograms. So quite a weighty fish. Which, when you look at it, it does look a bigger lump, doesn't it? Their diet is small fish and crustaceans, but their predators are snakes, stingrays, eels, and sharks. There are 5 species of them, and in terms of conservation, they're of the least concern. So they're not dangerous. Well, I should imagine not if they're laying a million eggs at a time. That probably helps to keep them off the endangered list. I'm going to make sure I get some orange in because that's quite a significant part of his design. Is that the right word? Camouflage. Box jellyfish is the most venomous marine animal. Yeah, I knew that they're pretty nasty in terms of venom. So how do they compare to the stonefish? Now, I'm actually quite pleased with how this has turned out. I think this technique of being really sort of raggedy with the way I am shading and adding colour is working quite well, even if it's killing my hand. The effect's working. Now with the black, I'm sort of going in to try and create more shadow areas to make it look more cratered and textured on his skin. So again, almost random with it, so that it doesn't look too neat. Because he doesn't. It looks quite random, and that's what works well for him. Keep him hidden. He can sneak up on his prey. I think I might be ready to start adding the water, and it might be that I then go back and add in some more detailed texture afterwards. I feel like giving up. It's not looking good. Don't give up, Susie. It's normally the midpoint that your picture looks the worst. I don't mean that offensively. It's all a process. So if you keep going with it, you will probably surprise yourself. There's so many times like this does not look like how it will end up. It will look so much better when it's finished. This looks very messy and rushed at the minute to me, but it's all part of the process. You've got to trust the process. Don't give up. Right, I'm going to add some colour and shading. Oh, the colour's already there. I'm blending the, the colour now, but still trying to keep variation. I don't just want to block colour it in, so I want darker areas, I want lighter areas to again make sure that my image still looks quite realistic and 3D rather than flat. And I do have to keep reminding myself but to look back at my reference picture rather than just trying to do it from memory, because that's when you are in danger of just sort of block colouring it in rather than looking at the lines and the form. See, now I'm looking at this going, oh, what have I done? The tab looks a bit of a mess. So it's definitely going to need some more detail put on top of it once it's dry because it looks too flat. Oh dear. Freya says, when she adds water, does it paint it rather than blend? Does it paint it rather than blend? You're not adding paint because the paint is already on there with the watercolor pencil. Um, it's turning it into a medium of paint, which gives a completely different effect and allows you to blend into lots more tones because you can move the water in a way that means that you have better variation. Does that make sense? So rather than just, here I've got dark and lighter black. When I start adding the water, I'll have loads of shades in between those as well, because you're sort of spreading the colour, if that makes sense. I don't think I do today. Get these shadowy bits done first so that I can spend more time on the clearer detail that we've got in the image. If you have joined us today, well done. I know this one wasn't probably the most exciting image to draw from, but I think it's good for us to get a grasp on all different types of wildlife when we visit different areas of the world, rather than just focus on the mammals, because I know they seem to be the most cute and cuddly. But it's also really interesting to learn about these weird and wacky creatures. Do you mean, oh, what was that? What was a couple of messages? My favourite one was the kookaburra. Yeah, do you know what? I think in terms of outcome, that's been my favourite drawing that I've completed was the kookaburra. I really liked that. It felt quite relaxed. I don't know if that's because there was a lot of white feathers. Jill, she means when she puts water on it, it ends up being more like painting than just blending. Is it because you're using too much water? I would say so, yes, in that case. So you can't see me because I'm off shot. When I put water on a brush, I just dip it in and then I twist it on the glass out of the water to get rid of the excess. So I'm not loading my paintbrush up so that it's as soon as I put it on the page, it's swimming in water. There is a fair amount on, but it can depend what sort of brush you're using as well. If you're using a thicker brush that can absorb loads more water, then obviously you're going to create a pool of water, whereas a smaller brush can only suck up so much water. So bear that in mind as well if you're using quite a thick brush. I am at the moment for these bits. So even though I drained my brush, it's still quite wet on my paper to the point where you can see, you can probably just about see the water sit in there. So that's something to be a bit mindful of as well, the actual size of the brush that you're using. So as I move into the face where there's a lot more detail going on, I'm going to move down to a smaller brush because it will allow me better to control. Otherwise my painting will just become a little pool of water and all the colours will blend and I'll lose that detail. I'll probably do this big front fin with a bigger brush and then move on to a smaller one. Oh, the more I look at this now, the more I'm like, yeah, this is not working. So I'm gonna try and save some time so I can rework some detail in this end. But the front end is looking much better. So I'm changing down to a medium-sized brush I've got to work on the mouth because that's another big wide area of colour. And I'm really trying to create, if you notice, that rocky little appearance on his skin. So not just smoothing it out. Which it would be easy to do that with watercolor pencils, actually just use the water to just smooth and blend everything together. But I want to move the color in a way that it still looks rough and textured. Excuse me. I know it's annoying me, it must be annoying you a lot every time I cough down the microphone. So try and leave some white highlights just to. I know isn't much that you can see that's white on the image, but leaving some white gaps does again help to get that sense of realism and 3D. So it contrasts against the darker shadows and makes your image look more realistic. Looks grumpy, doesn't he, with that frown? I really would recommend you Google searching some more images of the stonefish after this because I think you have a better sense of what they look like and their shape. You might even be able to Google search what the spines look like when they're erect. You might need to video search that, to be fair, though. Jill said there are 5 types of stonefish. I'm not sure which one we are painting. So if anyone works that out, 5 bonus points. I found the one we're painting, but it's facing the opposite way. Does it say what kind it is? Just so we know, just to satisfy my own curiosity, really. Yeah, I think I definitely, once this is dry, would want to use black, darker tones just to add more shadow and create more layers of texture. And at the moment, there's texture there. It doesn't look smooth, but it's not quite as dramatic as in the reference picture. So if I've got time, I'll work in some more, just build it up in layers. But it's just this bit I'm quite pleased with. That looks, again, because I've got that dark line here, and then grey to represent a medium tone, and then there's some white flecks as well. That's what helps it make it look really rounded and less of a flat image. Just going to rub out some of my pencil lines now. And think about which bits I need to work into. So the shadowed area in the towel at the back of the body, that's looking too flat for me. So I'm going to add in some of the bluey grey that I said before, because I can actually see that as a colour. Not quite dry enough, so we'll give it a good go, see what happens. Normally, in an ideal world, I'd want to leave that to dry a little bit longer and make it a lot easier for me to work on top of it. See, already that's brought it to life a little bit better, hasn't it? It's not so flat, just because, again, bigger variations in the tone. Do the same along here. I've got a bit of reflection on my screen, so it's making it difficult for me to see the picture, but we'll keep going. That's looking a lot better already. See, it's always a process. There's always going to be a point where you think, oh, that's not quite how I wanted it to look. But sometimes just give it a bit more time and attention. Take a step from it. Even take a break from it if you're getting stressed by it. Just put it down for a while. Come back to it after a little snack or whatever, cup of tea, and then you might find that actually it's not beating you, and you can see it with a fresh pair of eyes and see where you need to work on it a little bit more, add a little bit more. It's normally tone for me, add in a little bit more darker tones to build up the depth, or it might be detail, like I said about adding in more texture. It might be that that's missing. But even without adding the water, that looks better to me than what it had. This needs to be darkened down a bit. It's too light compared to the reference picture. I'm going to take the opportunity to add in a little bit more texture as I go as well now with this pencil. Again, he's looking a lot more ragged now. A lot more stony. Young stonefish look a bit nicer. Ah, so you found some, not babies, but younger stonefish, so they're not so ferocious looking. Perhaps they have to build up their texture on their skin and this menacing frown on him. Much better. I'm quite pleased with that, considering I did think this was going to be as difficult as the octopus. For me personally, I don't think it was, and I think that's the octopus. What I didn't like was all those tentacle suckers. That was hard work and repetitive, and my attention span does not allow for that. Steph has finished already. Well done. I don't think I'm far off it. I think I could keep working in more texture, but actually, as an image, I think that's recognisable as a stonefish, and I quite like the depth. And I'm always in danger if I work it too much of going too far the other way and wrecking it. So I might say I'm nearly finished as well. But well done, Steph. So once again, don't forget, if you want some feedback, to upload between 6 and 9 p.m. You're looking for the photo of this picture, not the actual reference picture. So my drawing, upload it as a comment, and I will come along and leave you feedback. But you must make sure that it's on there before 9 o'clock. So if you're like me, you might want to send yourself a little reminder, set an alarm on your phone, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., or whatever, to remind yourself that you need to upload if you want feedback. I hope the feedback does prove to be useful to people in terms of, knowing what to do next time to improve your artwork and to develop it on. But yeah, this is the last one of the term, because next term we are going into Europe, where we are going to be studying animals specifically from Czechoslovakia. The first one of next term, oh, just asked the question. The first one of next term, we are going to be looking at the Czechoslovakian wolf dog, which has not been randomly chosen. If you've been following along, you already know that we have a new puppy, and she is half German Shepherd and half Czechoslovakian wolf dog, which is a really interesting breed of dog. I'll tell you all about it in our first lesson back. So they are a breed of dog now, but it created them by breeding a German Shepherd with a Carpathian wolf back in the 1950s. And there were reasons that they did this, and I'll tell you all about it, but it's really interesting because they've got very, very wolf-like features, and they can have wolf-like characteristics as well. We're lucky with our one because she's mostly German Shepherd. She acts like a German Shepherd. Sometimes a bit wolfy. She likes to chase anything that moves. So yes, we'll be drawing effectively a wolf dog. We'll also be looking at a brown bear. We're going to be looking at a blue jay. There's 6 sessions, I think, next term again. So all animals that you can find in Czechoslovakia specifically. I may even, depending on how wriggly she is, introduce you to our wolf dog, Mako, so you can get a better sense of reference. So on camera, I might introduce her to us at the beginning of that first session. She would not be able to sit here for the entire session. She would be a nightmare. But I could certainly try and get her on my lap for the beginning, so you can see her and see her form. And I can show you some of the things that we're going to be focusing on. Oh, Susie, I love wolf dogs. Oh, awesome. Debbie, can we see her? Yes. Yeah, sorry, I've just been rambling on, haven't I? Jill, she's lovely. She is. She's a little land shark. She's getting better. She's getting bigger, and she'll probably be even bigger in a couple of weeks' time. So we've got a break for next week, and to allow for half term, and then we will back the following week. Let me just check what date that will be. Will be in November, won't it? So it will be the 6th of November to study the Czechoslovakian wolf dog. So hopefully you can join us for that one as well. Are you going to draw a tiger? Off the top of my head, I can't remember. I have planned the whole year. I know we are going to China at some point. Sorry, my voice is going. We're going to China, but I'm not sure whether or not the tiger is on there. Um, if not, it might be one that we can add in. We will see. If you're doing more drawings, where and when do I book? We do this all through the term. You don't have to book on. You literally just turn up for live. So it's always Mondays at 11 o'clock during our term time, which is slightly different to standard school term times. But we plan ahead so you can see all the dates. So later on today, I will upload the events for all of our lives for next term. So all 6 of them, so you can see the reference images as well. You can see what we're going to be drawing and plan it into your learning if that's what you want to do. You don't have to book on. It might be handy to say you're joining the event so that you've got a reminder of when it's happening. But yeah, we started these last year as a fortnightly thing. They've become a weekly thing now because people are enjoying them, and quite frankly, because I enjoy them. So we're going to keep it going for the foreseeable. So all this year we are travelling around the world. We've done Australia, we're going to Czechoslovakia, we've got the Antarctica, we've got China, we've got South America. I can't remember the last one, but we've got a lot coming up. And yeah, if you want some older footage of previous draw-alongs, if you look on our previous events, you should be able to find them there. Otherwise, our YouTube channel. On our YouTube channel, we have got loads of previous draw-alongs, but also other free content on there. So feel free to have a look at that. Susie, I'm finished. I'm going to be completely honest. I hate it. Oh no! But I'm going to ask you this, Susie. Does it look more interesting than the plain piece of paper that you started with this morning? Because I guarantee to everybody else it will look more interesting than that plain piece of paper you started with. So everything you do is a learning process. And even if it just means that you've learned something for next time, that will help you become a better artist. But do feel free to share with me what you've done. Like I say, on that post between 6 and 9. Steph, will we be doing pandas? We are definitely doing a red panda. Excuse me. I can't recall whether or not we're doing a giant panda, but we're definitely doing red panda. Susie, it's just the eyes that bother me. The eyes are really tricky in this one because you can't really see it on the image. I was only able to do the eye because I looked up other images, which is something you can perhaps do in future draw-alongs if you're struggling to see or understand or interpret a part of the image that we're working from. If you Google search more pictures of that animal, it will just help you have a better understanding of the form and the shape and the colours. So that's a top tip. Maybe it's something I'll try in lessons as well. So I'm going to leave it there before I have another coughing fit. I think I need to go get some water. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I know this one was a real challenge and not necessarily the most appealing picture to work from, but by pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and your boundaries like this, like even I'm doing, because I wouldn't choose to draw a fish. It's not the most interesting animal to me. But actually, I think I've developed some different skills from doing this today. So you're always learning. We're always progressing and improving. You're never finished. You might finish a picture, but you've never completed art. You're not like you get to a day and go, oh, I've finished art now. That's it. I'm done. So you can always do better. So yeah, keep joining me. I'm breaking for next week, and I'll hopefully see you in a fortnight's time. I'll get those events up today so that you can click on them as a reminder to yourselves. Thank you, Jill. Yes, I hope I feel better soon. It's been a week now. I don't get ill for ages, but when I do, it really takes me down. Just in time for half term, obviously. Being an ex-teacher, that's always what happened. Always got ill for half term. Thank you again, Debbie and Pies. Yes, thanks for joining us as our regulars as well. I'll be on this evening to give you your feedback. Hope you don't forget to share your artwork with me. And I look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks. Oh, just one final thing to say. I've said that obviously we're not here for next week. Next week we do have loads of really creative content coming for you. So Jo has been organising another special interest week in the background. So next week she's got a whole week's worth of content in relation to crafts and cookery, all based around one topic, which this week is going to be pumpkins. So this is not necessarily Halloween themed because we know not everybody celebrates it, but a pumpkin is a real thing that we can study, enjoy, use. So there's going to be loads of content and videos. So do follow along. If you're not already following the page, make sure you do that so you get the notifications of all of that. Jo does some amazing crafts and stuff. She hyperfixates on a topic and really throws her all into it. So there's loads to get from that as well. So do hang around and join in with those activities if you wish as well. Thanks, Eva, as well. I will see you all soon. Bye bye for now.